I'm Heather Wagner, Content Marketing Manager for Insight, Cloud and Data Center Transformation. And I'm going to welcome back Jenny Rue, Global Account Executive from the Bay Area, and Ryan McWilliams, Paid Media Strategist for our Digital Innovation team. In August 2020, the three of us met up. We discussed this experience of going remote as an organization, as individuals. So to kick things off, in the office, typically we have weekly lunches with some of our teammates. We do the quick coffee runs, or we get together by the water cooler, right? Have some chats, discuss things. How are you connecting with your teammates now?
Yeah, I think right now, obviously everything is still virtual. There's not a ton that can be done virtually. I know I was telling one of my teammates the other day, I have probably around 15 cocktail shakers now, given all the partner events and team events, and everyone just sending out little sets to do team building exercises. So I think we're limited in things that we can do from a virtual perspective, but nevertheless, I always appreciate the effort, and we got to be intentional about it.
Yeah, and I think for me, something that I mentioned last time was the efficiency of early meetings. Right when we went remote, a 30-minute meeting that was finished in 20 minutes, we would jump off the call at 20 minutes, and then we'd continue on with our day. But now that we're a year into this, I'm finding that a lot of teams are kind of hanging on after the call, and once all the agenda items are through, we're kind of just hanging out and chatting and catching up, kind of. A lot of us, I'm sure, are missing that in-person interaction and just chatting with some of your coworkers.
Yeah, exactly. It's that conversation that you would have had walking out of the meeting room, the conference room, back to your respected places in the building. So definitely, I'm seeing that as well. Spending that extra time just to get caught up on things. Jenny, this next question is going to be directed more to you, since you are client facing. So how is your engagements with the clients changed, and what are you seeing? What have you seen in the shift in their priorities?
Yeah, so I think the last time we met, a lot of the conversations were around how to return to work safely. Obviously, as I had said before, remote work was always part of everybody's strategy. But we spent a lot of time talking about our digital innovation practice, to talk about just how we bring employees back to work. That has changed into a conversation about just workplace transformation in general. The discussions are, how do we support our end users at home? How do we make sure that they have great connection? How do we make sure that we're still supporting them well? And how do we make sure that we have an agile enough infrastructure for this new dispersed workforce environment? So I think that has shifted quite a bit, just from a strategy perspective.
There have been some more work from home environmental issues. So Ryan, what are some things that have impacted you a little bit?
Yeah, I said this, and I noticed it right when we went remote. The personal ISPs are not handled. They had not been set up to handle everyone working from home and everyone being on the internet 20 hours a day. So that's definitely something that I miss. Having a truly stable internet connection. At the office at Insight, not having to worry about outages during the day. But that's something that's been a continued pain point for me specifically. Is waking up on a random Tuesday morning and not having a stable internet connection, or not having an internet connection at all, and getting the text from my ISP saying we're under maintenance and we don't know when it'll be back. So that's something that's I've struggled with for a year now.
And to that point, I had worked from home for about a year and a half before, the pandemic started. So if there was that issue, I could just go over to, my local coffee shop and access their internet while my, internet provider was fixing the situation. But with the pandemic, especially in the initial, several months, that wasn't an option. Now, as things are opening up more, that is, but there is still that strain on the internet for sure. So as far as collaborating, because I know in our last talk, Jenny talked about, collaboration tools possibly evolving and stuff. So what are you seeing Ryan, I'll go to you first. What are you seeing as far as adoption of collaboration tools?
So I think initially we saw a lot of these collaboration tools. I know we called out a couple specific examples last time, but a lot of them were very quick to add new features and add things that would allow us to connect rather quickly. But it seems to have slowed down just a little bit from my perspective. Adding new features, it kind of took the back seat. Do with connectivity and making sure that connections were stable and making sure that everybody had what they needed to collaborate. But as far as new features, that's something that we've seen slow down over the last couple months. And obviously, as the workforce shifts to full time remote, that's something that I'm expecting to see, continue the next year or so.
Yeah, that's a great point. Jen, are you seeing the similar things or?
Yeah, I think that what I'm seeing right now is I think primary before the pandemic, there was already great adoption of collaboration tools, right? I think that was something that everyone was leveraging well. But I would agree. I think that at first there was a lot of increase in functionality and a lot of that has slowed down. I think at the beginning there was even focus on how to not just make the experience better, but make it a little fun. They were adding more backgrounds and doing things like that. But I think, they hit pause a little bit on how to truly make it scalable because this is semi permanent. So I think that's kind of what I've been seeing as well.
Yeah,
Definitely.
definitely. And I mean, I think it's a lot. They had to shift to let's fix some of these issues to make sure that people can still access the tools as opposed to creating new options and new features. So definitely a little bit of a shift there. So hopefully, that'll start to go back and we can get some new cool things added into some of these collaboration tools. But last time we met, we discussed the future of work, right? Where did we think it was going? Now, a year later, are you seeing the changes of work? What, especially Jenny, working with clients and stuff, what are you seeing as far as what that possibility of the future workplace might look like?
I think I had said this before when we chatted last year about, and I talked about it again today about remote work having already taken, a path forward prior to the pandemic. But one of the things that I'm seeing, maybe not specifically with my clients, but in the Bay Area in general, are even organizations that never planned to go remote and that was not part of their strategy and maybe not part of their vision have somewhat been forced to include that into their strategy. I think COVID has made organizations realize that this is something that their employees want. So even if it's not something that they ever pictured, even if what they always wanted was an office campus culture, they need to be more flexible in order to improve the employee experience. So I'm seeing kind of not just organizations wanting to adapt it as a strategy, but also organizations being forced to adopt it to ensure that they stay competitive in the market.
Yeah, great point. Ryan, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think, Jen, you kind of hit the nail on the head, but just to expand a little bit, I think the the future of employment when it comes to recruiting has definitely changed too. You no longer necessarily have to live in the city or even the state where you're interviewing for, or where a job opportunity is. So it's something that it opens up a lot of possibilities.
Yeah.
And it kind of allows businesses to really get the person that they want without having the restrictions of having to live close to the office anymore.
So now that we're wrapping up here, what is some advice you would give to our audience when it comes to that work-life balance?
Yeah, I definitely think that it's worth getting up from your desk. Something that I had definitely fall victim to is staying at my workstation pretty much for the entire day, kind of rolling out of bed, jumping in my chair, and then being in that chair for the entire day. I had my lunch at my desk, and I just kind of fell into this habit of working basically the entire day and not really taking any time for myself. So now I've kind of made a point to block off 15 minutes on my calendar every day if I can. Take my dog on a longer walk, have lunch outside, just kind of just step away from work for a couple minutes just to kind of focus on myself and making sure that I'm in the best place possible, mentally, and making sure that I'm totally prepared to handle whatever work has to throw at me.
Perfect. What about you, Jenny?
Yeah, for me, I think a few things that I've learned. So, setting the time to actually call it a night, instead of kind of staying there and trying to get more done, and actually shut your laptop down. I think that actually sounds pretty simple, but it's actually very effective. I think the other thing that I've learned is just understanding that the world is not going to fall apart if you walk away from your laptop for just a second. Very similar to what Ryan said. I think, that's actually kind of across the board, and many people experience that anxiety. And then the last thing is maybe reevaluating how we use the word urgent. I think being at our desk, it has just caused us to, I think, maybe overuse that word and redefine the word. So I think that's something that might be something we should consider going forward.
Definitely agree with that. So great point. Again, thank you both for taking the time to talk through this, and maybe we'll be around for a third session. Who knows?
Yeah.
Thanks, Heather.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.